any manager that kicked out Cristiano Ronaldo is going to face his fanboys because they will be coming back and pulling him down, and that is increasing the chorus against Erik ten Hag.
I'm not saying that Ten Hag needs to necessarily go out to Manchester United to improve, but the worry with Ten Hag for me is his lack of tactical nous.
He doesn't have the players right now. I mean, are you going to press with Harry Maguire?
I
Really
think
work.
David De Gea still is a mistake. He was a Golden Glove winner.
Hello. Welcome to the Global Footballer Podcast. I'm Monish and with me is Deepak. Today we bring on the news about Manchester United and their season so far. Manchester United, I had picked to finish fourth this season just because I was a fan, honestly. Not really convinced with the signings of Manchester United. So, Deepak, let's first bring up the transfer window and how the signings have done so far. First, Mason Mount, what do you think about him?
Yes, Monish. So my prediction for Manchester United was sixth in the league. That's looking quite good and probably optimistic at this point of time. But you're very right. Manchester United have had a horrid time over the past few weeks, and it starts with the transfer window. Mason Mount, I still don't get it. I still don't understand why all that money was paid for him. I feel he's a distinctly average footballer. You gave him the number seven jersey, the uh, cursed number seven jersey, as some might say it. But he is your mega superstar that you bought over the summer, and he's just not delivered. I just don't understand the signing. I don't know how he fits into your system, more importantly. Even if he's a decent player, I think he's suited Chelsea a lot more than what he suits your system.
I
I
think
don't know
it's
whether you agree.
Yeah, I totally agree. I honestly, the only game he looked half decent was the one against Crystal Palace, the first one where Bruno wasn't there. So spending 60 odd million for a player to just replace Bruno Fernandes didn't make sense. Number two, we did have some decent attacking midfielders in the reserves and they were coming up as well. So Mason Mount, I don't think he wanted him. Erik ten Hag was actually looking for someone who can just pick up and distribute the ball. Frankie de Jong was his often pursued signing, didn't really work out. He said no, which makes totally sense to me. The problem with apart from that, he went for Amrabat. But if you notice the way that Amrabat was bought, Amrabat was always ready to come to Manchester United. He kept bigging up Erik ten Hag, saying how he taught him. They got him at the last day of the transfer window. I think United were not
And then he got
really,
injured.
yeah, and more importantly, I don't think United were in for Amrabat. They were always looking for a better player. They were not able to sell
Mm,
Harry Maguire, and then they were forced to get Amrabat, whatever. Reguilon had played well until he got injured as well. So, I mean,
mm.
he fell ill and then, yeah, so they have been having bad luck with injuries. But apart from that, the goalkeeper, Andre Onana, has been shambolic so far. But then David De Gea also
Horrible.
had a bad start. So, let's see how that goes. Andre Onana, I would still wait on him. Mason Mount, I would say, is mostly a flop signing unless he does. He can run around a little bit. Maybe he can change. He can play a different sort of game. He can fill in a different gap. But I don't see him as worthy of 60 million. And Amrabat, although he was bought for a pittance or I mean loaned in, I don't think it totally made sense because they used him on left back and he. As I mentioned, the first game that I saw Amrabat, I was like, I was worried why everyone was picking him up because he was taking two
Mm.
touches to bring the ball under control. He does not really have the quality. Let's be honest here. He does not have the quality to receive the ball, and he was picking up the right pass, but he doesn't have the quality that Manchester United is looking for in their midfield, especially in their first team, when all these players are injured.
I
So
completely agree with you there.
so bad
Because,
transfer window number one. Number two,
yeah,
Erik ten Hag again. I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant here, Deepak, but Erik ten Hag again seems to be only getting in. I was speaking to one of my close friends who's a Manchester United fan, and he's only getting in players that he's played with before.
mm, which is
Is
always a troubling sign for a manager.
exactly, and more importantly, is this because nobody else wants to play for him?
Yeah,
Because the players who are good and played for him are not coming back.
yeah. De Jong, case in point.
Exactly. But then we have the others. And he tried to get in Greenwood, didn't work. That became a problem. The Anthony issue is a problem. The way he's handled Sancho. Now the thing is, the Ronaldo fanboys, any manager that kicked out Cristiano Ronaldo is going to have, face his fanboys because they will be coming back and pulling him down, and that is, increasing the chorus against Erik Ten Hag.
I am one of them, and I
Uh,
I think we had this conversation off the
yeah,
podcast before,
yes.
where I suggested that perhaps getting rid of Ronaldo was a hasty move,
No,
and
I still stand by getting rid of Ronaldo.
yeah,
Okay.
fine. That's a conversation for another day. But I think Ten Hag's transfer policy has been quite shambolic. You're right.
Now the
He tends to prefer players that he knows, and that's always a troubling sign. And top of that, he doesn't seem to get the best out of them once he's taken them from his old teams or wherever they've been playing before, and then trying to integrate them into Manchester United has not worked.
And how
I
is
would
his
say
man
Onana.
management with Sancho? That, I mean, okay, he's
Uh,
been good to
uh,
Anthony. Been good to try to get Greenwood back. He's been decently careful of, he's been defensive about Onana, but he threw Sancho under the bus. Now Sancho, if you, I mean, there was obviously this media push that Manchester United gave mentioning Sancho's previous issues with in Dortmund, but
mm.
is Sancho really that bad? So that is the question to be asked.
So my
Overall,
problem with the
his
whole thing is there was really no need for Ten Hag to bring it up. He was asked where is Sancho? Is he in the squad? Which is a question that every journalist asks every Premier League manager. If there is somebody of significant value missing from their entire squad, that question is put to them every week. Ten Hag could have just patted away. He's not fit enough, or he's not. I mean, he's not reached the point of being in the squad, or he's still training, or something of that sort. A cliche, non-committal answer would have been absolutely fine there. But he had to drag in Sancho's performance in training, and he's not putting in the effort, things like that.
See,
Which,
it's very clear there that Ten Hag was on purpose throwing Sancho under the bus. He knew exactly what was going to
mm,
happen.
do you
There's no
think
doubt
he
on
would have
that.
done it if they won the game?
I am not really sure. I think yes, he was trying to deflect blame over here. Ten Hag tried to deflect blame previously as well. He tries to be Jurgen Klopp, but he does not have. He's not as good.
Or
Probably the
Mourinho?
yeah. I think the lack of orange hair or the sexy Portuguese accent is problematic for him. Sorry. Yeah, but
Yeah.
honestly, that matters, I think. Anyway, so he tried to deflect the blame, mentioning the refereeing decisions, which was a fact because although United won the first game, the whole PGMOL coming and mentioning that listen, we were sorry, and then the opposing coach going on and mentioning that listen, this was told to me, and the whole discussion after the game was not United's performance. It was the decision of Andre Onana not being given a card and the penalty not being given for that
Mm.
foul, alleged foul. Anyways, but more,
I don't think it's alleged foul. It is definitely a foul. It was assault, as I said before. It was not even a foul.
but it's alleged foul. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Just so Erik Ten Hag. Now the problem is tactically not shown to be really good. Not really managed the Sancho situation well. Not been good in terms of his transfer signings. So what does he actually do apart from managing to clear up the clutter and being a bit good in terms of discipline? So the problem here is that Erik Ten Hag has been quite well backed by the management compared to the previous managers.
Yep.
The Glazers have been a bit better in terms of giving him the resources that he needs. They have not questioned his decision making, whereas they kept questioning them with the previous managers. I mean, I agree with them questioning Solskjaer's decision making, but they could have listened to Mourinho maybe. So more importantly, he has been given a long rope. I still think we should stick by him only because although people keep saying Zidane is out there and so on and so forth, I don't think we're going to attract a manager of, and it is his team now. We have already spent quite a bit of money and invested in a lot of players who are his players and his team, and give him some more time to improve if possible. Middle of the season is not going to work out well, and also the takeover. The Glazers are a problem as well. They have to decide whom they're going to sell it to because that whole thing is going on for super long, and I think the fans are not expecting them to be sold anymore. So uh, the takeover on one hand, Eric Ten Hag's performances on the other are a problem. Deepak, do you think? I know you're in the Ten Hag out category, but what do you think otherwise about Manchester United season? What is their weakest point in terms of?
Honestly, my biggest problem with Ten Hag, I agree with you. I'm not saying that Ten Hag needs to necessarily go out to Manchester United to improve, but the worry with Ten Hag for me is his lack of tactical nous, and that's been the most troubling part. The issues off the pitch, he's probably been quite unlucky to deal with a lot of issues coming all together. The Greenwood one and the Anthony one after that, Sancho one after that. These are all issues which are very difficult to deal with for any manager, and he's had to deal with them back to back. So I'm not going to judge him off that. That's on the side. But I am going to judge him on how he tries to influence games, and he's just not done anything to influence games. He just does not have the tactical nous to beat high caliber managers, and that's just being shown again and again. He's a decent manager, I think, and he has some decent ideas on how to play on the transition, but he's just not getting his players to follow the system, and he's just not able to change matches when things are not working out. If Manchester United win, it's most likely due to a bit of quality from the likes of Bruno Fernandes or Rashford or even Højlund recently. Apart from that, I have not seen Manchester United demolish teams based on a team performance in so long that it's very troubling that Ten Hag
So Ten
faced one
Hag's
again.
system is basically pressing with four players up front. The problem with him is Rashford probably was not the best presser, or not the best person to decide when to press and when not to. I think that's improving to a certain extent. The striking ability, I mean, I was really worried about where the goals were coming from last season. In fact, I think Bruno is not really in his best form, but still with Holland playing, and the last game in against Galatasaray, although they lost, Rashford and Bruno and Holland had better understanding. Holland, I'm quite excited about. Uh, Two well taken goals. The second one, as we mentioned, running in a straight line, he's one of the quickest out there, and he actually showed it for the second goal. He outran his defender with the ball. That's really
Mm.
fantastic. The problem also, I mean, and the goal that was chalked off for offside. It was a clear offside, but the fact the way he managed to shimmy the ball past the defender and take a shot, that guy has definitely got quality. He's someone actually who has more quality than I thought he did. So I'm excited about him. I think this team needs more time, and I think he needs to have Shaw and Regulin, and because it is a fact that he has lost most of his players, especially his defense is completely a shambles. He's using Amrabat, who was not there. He had Shaw. He had got Malaysia last year, who was his cover. He was injured. Shaw is injured. He got Regulan, also not there. Now he's got playing Amrabat in left back. I mean, we have to give him a bit of a rope for that, because
Yeah, the
any team
injuries have probably
losing
not helped at
so
all. I
many
agree with that.
important players, now, I mean, he's gone back to playing with the defense that he wanted out. He's playing with
Mm.
Harry Maguire, Lindelof, and even Van Bissaka is not there at times. So even the midfield, he's using McTominay. So we have to give him a bit of rope for that. But the
Yeah, a
problem,
bit
what
of
I'm
leeway
saying
for the
is
injuries. I agree.
exactly. But the problem is that him removing Cristiano Ronaldo, he's always going to be hated on by a good number of fans. So not
I think
necessarily.
perhaps even if you move past that, you did mention there that he wants to play a transitional game of football, and he has said
Yeah,
before that he wants his team to be the best transitional team in
exactly.
the world. The problem with that is, for me at least, the problem with that is how his players don't seem to be completely buying into that. They seem to be pressing
Mhm.
and not as a combined cohesive unit, but they,
Yes.
even if when they do that, they don't seem to be able to sustain that for beyond probably 10 or 20 minutes. They seem to be, the minute the opposing team gets past the first press, the subsequent press is not coming in, the third press is not coming in, uh, which is
As I mentioned, I think he's trying to just do the first press, and after that he plays contained. I think that's his style. More
which is not
importantly,
happening, but
yeah,
because if he's playing contained, then he's losing at
he
least
doesn't
two lines of
have
defense.
no, he doesn't have the players right now. I mean, are you going to press with Harry Maguire?
He
That's the
doesn't need
problem.
to. So pressing starts from the front, right? It
Front,
doesn't.
yes, but
Nobody needs to
no,
press from the back.
you said the third press, so he has to cover up. He has to change the
No,
position
by
basically.
that I mean if the left winger is pressing, the striker should press according to that, and then the right winger should press according to that, and center midfielder should press according
No,
to that.
so basically, Ten
Which
Hag
is not
normally
happening.
has the first press, as in the first front four players press, and after that he plays contained. Casemiro last season, if he had the similar form that the style of play that he wanted to play, I think it would have worked better because he was really picking up the right passes and all of that. Now United looks like they don't have a midfield. They were run ragged by Matheus Cunha and Matheus Nunes, so I mean
Hmm.
anybody can beat them in midfield. So basically, what United is having is a disjointed attack who, when they get the ball, can create something out of the blue and uh, probably last ditch tackles from
Yeah,
Varane and everybody
that's
else.
what you're relying on brilliant individual movements, which is
Exactly.
always a problem because you can't expect players to sustain that and keep doing that every week, week in, week out. Um, and it will break down at some point, which has actually happened many times this season. That's why you've
That's
lost
why
a few games.
I keep mentioning that Bruno Fernandes is quite underrated because he has been digging United out of trouble for so long and playing at such high quality. Nobody really realizes that I mean, he has been a linchpin and he has been fantastic. Without him, this United team would be nowhere last season. And
Hmm.
the first season he came in halfway and got into the Champions League, that also was all on him. He saved Solskjaer's job, and I think Erik Ten Hag knows that. He probably is keeping managers in United longer than they should be. That's the only problem I have with him. All right,
Anyway,
so
so I think that that sort of covers most of the issues current ongoing at Manchester
what do
United.
you think is the
What
one thing United need to do this season for a change? What would you like them to see? I mean, not about tactics, but player personnel or someone else they have to bring in to cover, or which position do you think is lacking?
honestly, I think you bought a lot of players. You bought millions and millions. You've spent more than most other clubs in the
No, I
Premier
mean this
League.
is the grouse that everybody says that
Yeah,
United bought, but what do you think is the one place they have not been able to buy quality? They've bought
I think
quantity, but what about quality?
the problem is you bought quality because whenever any of these players have been brought, the fans have been excited for most of them. When you bought in Anthony, this was the second coming of Cristiano Ronaldo. When you brought
I
Mason Mount, you're
was
like,
let me
okay,
be
this
let
guy
me
is
be
going
honest.
to.
I don't think Mason Mount anyone was excited about.
Eh,
Anthony,
eh,
there was a huge uh, hype about Anthony. I do not know why. I didn't
yeah,
find him that great. Mason Mount was not very
there was
fans.
huge. There still continues to be huge hype around Varane. Varane
Varan,
was one of the
yes.
greatest center
Varan,
backs
yes,
that
and
that has played.
surprisingly Amrabat. I do not know why people liked him. I mean,
Yeah,
just saying.
Casemiro, again one of the most decorated center midfielders of all time. Uh,
Casemiro played one great season, not just good,
yeah,
great season.
again, that's what. So it
He
plays
kept
into a
him in his
point
job.
that whenever these players are coming in from other teams, they are of very high standard, or at least they're perceived to be of very high standard. But what's happening then when you reach Manchester United and that standard drops significantly?
So do you
Either there's
think
something completely wrong. Somebody used this analogy to describe the whole situation at Manchester United. If you bring about five really healthy, shining fish into a koi pond, which is full of dying, unhealthy fish, the shiny new fish will show off over the first few days, and after that they will get affected by all the death and misery around them, and then they'll start dying themselves.
no?
That's
But
what's happening to all the players that
so
Manchester United is signing.
Erik Ten Hag at least had the honesty to himself, knowing that he had to remove a few players. He got rid of a couple of them. He tried to get rid of Maguire. That didn't
I
really
think
work.
David De Gea still is a mistake. He was a Golden Glove winner. Golden Glove winner. Just statistically the best goalkeeper in the league. Just
No,
because he's not able to play Hollywood passes.
but okay, if
Onana's
he
Hollywood passing led to a goal. This just
no, but
day before yesterday.
Deepak, just one question. If David De Gea was such a big mistake, why did no one else go for him?
I think that was just down to him having an absolutely horrible agent. Honestly, anybody who's representing David De Gea needs to be ashamed of themselves. If you can't get him
No,
into a club, and
but
Keylor Navas is getting clubs to join, it's a disgrace. Because honestly, I think what happened was he was going to join Real Madrid, to go in for Courtois. because Courtois did get injured, which is going to take him out for the whole season. That deal, for some reason, fell out at the very last moment, and that's why they went in for Kepa on a loan to cover
Yeah,
that position.
that I have heard about that. Yes, there was news that he was going to Real Madrid, and I mean, I feel bad that David De Gea didn't find a club, but honestly, I think United were not the only team that felt that he was not working out well for the whole team, because see, just to be honest, right now everybody's playing from the back. Everybody wants that goal, their goalkeeper to,
Not
yeah,
Newcastle.
not Newcastle, but most teams. See, there is basically most of football goes through transitional phases. There was a time everybody the sexy thing was trying to keep the ball. Right now the thing is about trying to press, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's what
not
we are
just one.
doing at
It's
least.
not just one
Everybody
team.
was.
It's a quite a few teams who feel that okay, if you do not have the players, we can improve with the system. What is the system you do? First, you try to keep the ball. That was the system probably 10 years back. Now, keeping the ball, that probable system has been found out, and now everyone's trying to press. They will figure out how to beat that as well. But what I'm trying to say is David De Gea didn't really. Okay, Real Madrid wanted him as a replacement, but he could have really, if he really was that caliber and everybody wanted him, he should have found a team. Not just his agent, he should have found a team. Anyway, moving
Yeah, I
on from
agree with that. I still am not
David.
entirely sure what's gone on
Yeah,
there, but come on, if somebody
no,
like if
no, but
somebody
what
like
I'm saying is David De Gea. Yes,
Foster and
you have to
of
change.
those likes
Like
can
you have to see
get a team.
some amount of it was some players were basically uh, taking United hostage and demanding higher salaries, and that's what kept happening with David De Gea, with Paul Pogba, as you know.
Mm.
uh, because they had this great season just before their contract and they kept asking for higher salaries. So that was being weeded out. About the players that are coming in, uh, among the players, they always went for already established players. I would like to have more players who have more potential rather than otherwise. Anthony, at least the intention was the step in the right direction, although he didn't have the quality that he supposedly had. Holland seems to be having that quality, but I'm still gonna wait more on him. But I rather have more players with some potential and a good mix of potential and experience rather than just experience alone.
That was supposed to be Varane, somebody in his prime who had
He
won
had,
everything.
yeah, and he got injured quite
He
a
got
bit.
injured. Yeah, Malaysia,
Malaysia
again a
is
young
injured,
player who has got a lot of
in
potential,
again
injured.
again injured.
So there's something
Casemiro,
really, really wrong at the club, is my point from all this. You're bringing in players who are of sufficient caliber, in my opinion. These are sort of players that I don't think going for these players was a mistake, by the way, because most clubs
except
around the world
Mount
would have
and
been,
Amrabat, I'm okay with
except
everyone.
Mount, perhaps Mount, I still don't understand. But even Amrabat, I can understand. You needed a defensive
And
midfielder to
he,
as
he wasn't
backup
too
to
too
Casemiro.
expensive, just considering
And
the money
yeah, he
paid.
wasn't too expensive, exactly. So I can understand Amrabat even. So I don't think many clubs around the world would have loved all these players. But for me, there's fundamentally something wrong at Manchester United, that you're bringing in consistently very high caliber players, and they seem to just start playing for Manchester United and drop down several levels. Uh, I don't understand why that's happening. I don't know
Well,
whether that's a coaching issue or whether that's a culture issue at the club or
there
whether it
has to
just
be a
starts from the
change
top.
in the culture of the club. Manchester United, for a good amount of time after the second great Sir Alex Ferguson team, I think after the Ronaldo Rooney Tevez triumvirate was broken up, they were probably winning the Premier League and winning games only out of their status. Teams were just
Mm.
ready to come in and lose to Manchester United, and they weren't even trying to win, especially away from home. So they had that and they milked that for quite some time, but there were problems already. And once players of the caliber of Scholes, Giggs, and everybody else left, there was nobody else for other players to look up to. We don't still have that leadership.
Whom do you want to punish? You asked me whom would I sign for Manchester United if given the chance. Who would you sign?
I don't think a specific player, but I still think they need a central midfielder because they have been buying all sorts of players to fill up that center midfield gap, but they just need a
Hmm.
proper midfielder, a proper midfielder, a
Box to
center
box.
midfielder. Yes, just somebody who can, take
Actually,
receive the ball and
probably
pass it perfectly.
Rabiot last year, all the negotiations with Rabiot, probably he was the player who fit that role quite well, but it didn't work out again.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So somewhere they are a little better than previously, and
mm,
yeah, they know that okay, this. Now United is also being honest. They know that they cannot get a Bellingham. Why do not go for Bellingham? Bellingham is not going to come to
No,
Manchester United. That
completely
no
uh,
that sort of
outside your
quality.
level.
So Erik Ten Hag, at least now, even the fans have realized that what level they are at.
Mm.
They are honest about it. So they know that they have to go in and get those players. When Liverpool, after dropping down really badly when they came up, they got in players who were having problems at other clubs. Coutinho, case in point, he had a problem with Inter Milan, was bought for 12 million. They were looking outside the normal places, and that's what
Mm.
United has to do now. All right, so that's it about Manchester United. Deepak,
Anyway,
thank
hope
you.
you all enjoyed that deep dive. Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. And see you
Yes,
next time.
see you next time. Bye.